Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amy. Today I thought I would share with you my care tips for my Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. I have had this plant for well over a year now and it's been through some things, okay? And along that journey I've learned a lot of different things on how to care for this beautiful plant. So I thought I would share these with you today in case you have one, you're struggling, or you are thinking of buying one, you want to prepare yourself, which is exactly what you should do. So keep watching if you want to figure out how I care for mine. Here is my wonderful girl. So I'm going to try and lift her up, show her a bit better. This is what she looks like from the back. I'm gonna have to burn her with my candle. She has three main stalks, so we have one here along this pole, I have one here along this pole and one here. So she's basically three long stalks, all originating from the same kind of stem. So this is her. I will share some old footage I have of her back in the not so thriving days, so you can see what I have started off with and what she went through and what she looks like now. So I do think I have the care of this down pretty good now. She has gotten spider mites, she has been overwatered, she has been dropped off a shelf twice and smashed a lot of her leaves. She has had thrips quite recently and I'm pretty sure they're all gone. So she's been through a lot, but she's also done really well. So this plant has grown a lot for me this growing season and I'm really pleased with the progress. And yeah, let's get into the care tips for her. Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. She is in the Araceae family and she is native to southern Thailand and Malaysia. So she's used to high humidity and warmth. She is a tropical plant. She also goes by many names, as you may have noticed in certain sellers and garden centers. She's known as Monstera minima, Mini Monstera, split leaf philodendron. I've seen people mix her up with Epipremnum pinnatum, although I don't think it looks the same, but fenestrations wise, that might be why. It's under a lot of different names, but the real name is Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. So that's kind of the background on this plant. It is a climber, as you can see, has good thick aerial roots, and she enjoys having stuff to climb on. It also helps the leaves get a bit larger. Light-wise, I give this plant quite bright indirect light. I've had her in varying different light levels. I've had her in slightly lower light, and that has definitely stunted her growth a little bit and ended up in me receiving smaller leaves. I've also had her in quite bright light and that has made her grow pretty fast. But I do find that this plant prefers indirect for sure. I have had her under my skylights, which are southeast facing, and she does better like slightly off from that, slightly, as I said, indirect light from this window, and she seems to prefer that spot the most. Makes her grow very fast. Her growth has slowed down quite a bit, probably due to the recent thrips infestation, and also we're coming into winter now. It is end of November, beginning of December. Early summer and midsummer she grew really fast, like 3 leaves every 2 weeks kind of thing. So I was really excited by that, and that made her push out all of these big vines. I also repotted her maybe in the last 2 months because she was getting extremely root bound. I wouldn't normally do that coming into winter, but she was kind of suffering a bit. But one thing I do want to mention is that every time I have moved this plant, she hasn't really enjoyed it. It's taken her some time to adjust to that. So my advice would be to find that sweet spot, that bright indirect light spot, and leave her there and see what she does. Let her adjust. Certainly when I first got this plant, it took months for her to do anything. Months, like no sign of any new growth points or buds or anything. So she definitely took her time, for me at least, to adjust to her surroundings. So keep that in mind. Try to find the good spot and just leave her there and let her do her thing. As regards the soil mix that I have her in is my typical soil mix that I have in my soil mix video that I have on my channel. I will put a card up here so you can go watch that. I do tend to put in a little bit extra more bark for this plant because she seems to like a bit of a chunkier mix to grab onto. So watering wise, which is almost always the most important thing, easiest to get wrong, hardest to get right. With this plant, she does like to dry out a good bit, but I wouldn't say drying out too far. Definitely if she gets too dry, she doesn't like it very much, but I have certainly done that with this plant and forgotten about it for a while, and she didn't totally decline on me. So she does like to dry out a little bit, so I'll wait until most of the soil is dry, maybe slightly moist at the very bottom of the pot, and then I will water it. She doesn't like to be overwatered, that is clear to me. I definitely overwatered this at the beginning when I first got her, and she didn't like that at all. She rotted quite a bit, she lost some leaves, so definitely err on the side of dry with this plant, just in case you're the type of person to overwater. And if you're the type of person who tends to forget about their plants, you can forget about it for a while, but not too long. Fertilizer wise, I'm not one who's super technical with my fertilizing. I haven't done that much research on it, but I do just use any old organic fertilizer that I can find, very mild, very diluted, and I do fertilize her during the growing season or the summer months when she's growing. If I see signs of growth, I will fertilize. She's showing signs of growth now. As I said, it's coming into winter, and I'm still fertilizing her with mild, highly diluted organic fertilizer. Pests. So, I have had two types of pests on this plant, two very difficult types of pests to get rid of. Our favorite spider mites and thrips. So I have successfully gotten rid of both of those, but not without difficulty, I will say that. This plant has quite thin leaves, and those types of leaves don't do very well when they're getting eaten or preyed on, I guess. So spider mites, she had spider mites, was it very early on this year or last year? I can't remember. She had spider mites. I, was very diligent with my battling of that. So I did a soap and neem oil mix, very, very, very soapy mix, and I got rid of them. She bounced back from that. As I said, recently she's had thrips. So I have found that, like most plants, while she's had an infestation, she hasn't done super well. Her leaf growth is much smaller. They can be deformed, especially with thrips. She grows a lot slower because it's taking a lot of energy from her to be, trying to stay alive. But that's normal for most plants. It's not to say that yours is going to get spider mites or thrips, but I'm just going to say that with any, especially aroid with thinner leaves, you're going to struggle at some point, and that's normal and it's natural. Just remember that. It's going to happen with loads of your plants, and there's nothing you can do about it. Just take it in your stride and try to fight them as best you can, hopefully non-chemical wise, and you'll be fine. You'll survive. Propagation wise, I have never propagated this plant. I think that's because she had such slow growth. She's been through so much that when she's been thriving, I haven't wanted to cut her. I just want her to keep growing real big. I have never propagated her, but I do assume that she's very easy to propagate. I may do it next summer if I see some good growth. You can watch my water propagation video. I'm sure, if and when I do propagate this plant, that is the direction I will be going. Do a node cutting. She has pretty strong aerial roots. Some of them are super long. So I put that in water, and I would say that you have no issues rooting this plant, but I can't speak from my own personal experience, so I'm not gonna make super strong comments on that. But yeah. So you guys, that is it for Mrs. Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. This is one of my favorite plants. I think that any plant that you've gone through a lot with and she's still thriving is always going to have some sort of a cool connection with you. You know, there's a history there, and I'm really proud of this plant. It's one of my favorites. I love it so much. Really, I find it super easy to care for once you figure it out, and I'm really happy to have this plant in my collection. So if you're thinking of buying one, I hope that these tips will help you prepare for how to care for this plant. If yours is struggling, maybe some of the tips that I've outlined today might help you in that struggle. If there's something I haven't mentioned or you have any questions, please leave them down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like down below, subscribe and hit the notifications bell, and also follow me on Instagram because that's where I am the most active. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.